Hello, hello. Today we're kind of just gonna review. Let me get my light on. Let's see. Uh, Today we're kind of just going to review what we discussed on Friday, and I know I didn't give you any work on it Friday, so today is the work on it. Um, it's not difficult stuff. It's going to be broken up throughout the week. So if you recall, we are going to start talking about percents. And percents, again, are parts of 100. So you're dealing with that 100 thing. Everything is a part of 100. So your denominator and fractions are going to be 100 here and things like that. Can you see my face better now? Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. I got that. Yeah, running through. But anyways, percents are parts of 100. So you can think of percents. You can write them as decimals. You can write them as fractions, which, again, that's the same thing as a ratio. So all of these things are really the same number. We just write them in different ways. So percents being parts of 100, you're going to be looking at, what is today's? Today's is taking a percent to a fraction. So today's work is all about going from a percent to a fraction. And again, I gave you kind of a quick run through of this on Friday, and I believe I attached the same slideshow. It's the same notes because all my notes are on one slideshow for percents. So if you want to keep up with that, I'm not sure what order it's going in, if it's going the same as your book or not, but we can write them as fractions. So for example, any percent you can think of, you can have percents that are just kind of like normal percents, like maybe 16%. This is going to be a fraction. Remember, it's parts of 100 here. So we're looking at a fraction with your denominator being 100. And here your numerator is just going to be your parts. So it's just going to be 16 out of 100. And then make sure you reduce this. So you can reduce these down. And again, you're thinking, when it comes to reduce, what can you divide out of each of these to get whole numbers out of this? So maybe 4. Take out 4 from each. 16 divided by 4 gives you 4, and 100 divided by 4 gives you 25. So we know that 16% is equal to 4/25. They are the same thing. They just, one is a percent and one is 4/25. So keep in mind you have percents like that. If it's a one-digit percent, same deal. We can do 5%. Right, is 5 out of 100. And again, that reduces down. We can divide each of these by 5. And that equals 1/20th. So 5% equals 1/20th. Don't get confused with numbers that are greater than 100. So if we had 300%, it's still the same thing. It's still parts of 100. Your denominator is always going to be 100. That's a large fraction mark. Your denominator will always be 100 here, and your numerator is always going to be whatever the percent is. And then you reduce it. In this case, we can divide each by 100. Which equals 3. So 300% is equal to 3. And when you do have things that are over 100, so percent's greater than 100, like 100% is 100 over 100, which is 1, right? Things greater than 100% are going to equal numbers greater than 1. Numbers less than 100% are going to equal numbers less than 1. Again, if you want to take notes, you can, but I kind of outlined it all in the PowerPoint, and you kind of looked at it Friday. Really, I just need you to practice getting good at this. That's really what I need you to be doing this week. So today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, we're just going to practice going from percents to decimals, decimals to fractions, fractions to percents, decimals to percents, and so on. Right? But this is going from a percent to a fraction. Pretty simple. You just put it over 100 and reduce. Nothing that you haven't really been doing lately. We are going to look at the other way, though, which is a little more complicated. So, again, today we're just going to focus on going from percents to fractions or fractions to percents. So we want to be able to do that. Let's look at the other way of doing it, going backwards, the opposite. It takes a little more thought. Well, let's look at going from a fraction to a percent. So what if I give you a fraction? Can you turn that into a percentage? So let's start off with some pretty simple ones. I mean, some of these you probably can do in your head. I mean, you know 1/2 is going to be equal to 50%, right? You know 1/4 equals 25%, right? So some of these you probably have kind of benchmarks that you can look at so you can judge whether, hey, your answer is making sense or not. You know that 1 equals, or like 1/1, so to speak, I guess, equals 100%, right? That's a whole. You have everything there. But what about ones that you probably don't know off the top of your head? Some pretty common ones that you're going to see are maybe 1/3. In order to do this, you simply just need to rewrite this fraction as a fraction with a denominator of 100. So you're going backwards. And again, because percents are part of 100, you're always looking for the 100 here. So I want to take 1/3 and I want to make it a fraction with a denominator of 100. Once I do that, I know my percent's going to be on top. So you might be able to sit there and do some reasoning. What times 3 is going to give you 100? You might not know that off the top of your head. Some of you might know, because that is actually 33.3 repeating. And if I multiply that by 1, you're going to get 33.3 repeating, because that's what it is. So yeah, 4 is going to be that. But maybe you didn't know it, and you need to find this number. So I'm going to put an X for that number, and then you can solve it like you were doing your proportions from last chapter. In that case, you're going to do 1 times 100, which gives you 100, and 3 times X, which gives you 3X. And then you can use your algebra to solve for X. So get X by itself, divide this side by 3, the 3's will cancel, leaves you with X. Over here, 100 divided by 3 gives you that 33.3 repeating. So your percent here, so 1/3 is equal to 33.3 repetend percent. And that's like what Porter was mentioning there. So good job on that. So some of them you might know just off the top of your head. Some of them you might have to do this little proportion work to solve. I can give you some other strange ones. Just picking random numbers, I can do like 105 over 30. Like, what percent would that be? I mean, that's a fraction. First thing you should note on this one is that this one here, whatever it equals, it has to be larger. I guess I could do it this way. This has to be larger than 100%. Right? Because this is an improper fraction, and 1/1 would be 100%. Anything higher than that is going to be over 100%. So you know this is over 100% just off the top of your head by looking at it. But again, the same deal is going to happen. You're going to set this equal to another fraction where your denominator is 100. And again, you're always using 100 because percents are parts of 100. And you want to find that value. Well, you can go ahead and, well, you might be able to reduce this. First off, this is pretty easy to reduce. You can divide each by 5. So should we do that? No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to work with it because maybe you don't notice it. But you could reduce that if you wanted. So let's do 105 times 100, which gives you 10500, and 30 times x, which gives you 30x. And then you're going to do your algebra to solve. I'm going to divide this by 30. I'm going to divide this by 30. Here I am going to reduce. I'm going to knock off a 0 from each of them. Just divide by 10 for each of them. It'll be the same problem. I can cancel those out. So I'm looking at 1050 divided by 3. 3 goes into 10. 3 times 9. 1. Bring down to 5. 3 goes into 15. 5 times, which is 15. 0. Bring down to 0. 3 goes into 0. 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0, and so on. So you're getting 350%. So x is equals 350, and therefore it is a percent. We add the percent sign to it. So it's really not too difficult. You're just dealing with fractions that have a denominator of 100, and then reduce if possible. Your assignment is in the workbook. So your practice on this stuff is in the workbook. And again, I am taking it fairly slow because I need you to get really good at this. But you should all have your workbook at home. That's the one I told you to bring home. So you should have your workbook. You're looking on page 196. And you're looking at problems. Well, you're looking at all of them. What is it? 1 through 23. So just looking at some to give you an example, we can do one from each of the two groups here. First one is going from a percent to a fraction. So number 1 is asking you to do 52% and write this as a fraction. So in order to do that, again, 52% is going to equal some fraction with a denominator of 100. Yeah, that's what we're doing. If you know how to do it, go off and do it. If you want to stay on and ask questions, stay on and ask questions. But I'll do an example from each of the top two groups again for you. It's not difficult. I just need you to have this mastered before you go on to the next stuff about percents. And then that's going to equal 52, right? And then you reduce this. So I can divide each of these by 52 divisible by 4. Yeah. And that's 13/25. Right. And then next group is going from a fraction to a percent. So you got, what is it? 13 would be the next, sort of the next group, and you got 4/5. This one shouldn't be too difficult. The more you do these, you're going to realize that 1/5 equals 20%. You should know that off the top of your head by now. And you have 4 of them, so 4 times 20 is going to give you 80. So this is 80%. But we want this to have a denominator of 100. You can multiply this by 20. You can multiply this by 20. It gives you the 80 over 100, so this equals 80%. Again, if you didn't recognize the common factor there, between 5 to get to 100, you can do this proportion ways, and you'll get the same answer. You get 5x equals 400, divide by 5, divide by 5. You get x equals, 5 divided by 4 is 8, and then you have the extra 0 for 80. So it still equals 80% either way. When you are typing things in, please do not lose your percent signs. If you don't put a percent sign by it, it's the number 80, and I can tell you right now, 80 does not equal 80%. They are two very different numbers. So make sure you put the percent sign and don't leave off that unit. But yeah, give them a shot. Yeah, you can use calculators to divide or multiply. I don't care at this point. I honestly didn't, because I don't know why I didn't do it today. I just didn't. Stay away from your percent key though. Don't use this. Chances are that means something you're not quite understanding yet. But you might know what that means. I don't know. Just stay away from it. It's a bit of a confusing key. Yeah, Porter. Right. 1 is going to equal 100%. So 80 is going to equal 80/100%. Yes, you can use calculators, Eli. Just don't push the percent button. I don't know if every calculator has one. I don't even know if mine has one. Some calculators have a percent button. Stay away from the percent button. Yeah, my calculator has one. I mean, I don't know why it's confusing to people, but it is. It tends to be confusing because when we get into operations and stuff like that, most formulas that you have are going to turn your percent into a decimal before it uses that, and that's incorporated into part of the formula. Oh no, yeah, you can use the percent key on your keyboard. That's just Shift 5. Is that what it is? Yeah, Shift 5. You can use Shift 5. This is on calculator. If you use the percent key on the calculator, what it does is like you'll type in 80%. It's going to turn that into a decimal for you, and then do it. But most formulas that you use a percent for, like compound interest, P equals P times 1 plus R to the N. This here is your percent that you put in. If you put that in as 80%, it's not going to work. If you type in balance equals principal times 1 plus 80% to the N, this does not work. That needs to be a decimal. You need to put it in as the decimal. If you put it in as the 80%, it's going to add 1 to it first to make it 81%, and then do it. But yeah, it gets confusing. Stay away from the percent button. It's easy enough to do this in your head that you shouldn't use the percent button on the calculator. Let's see, I didn't read the word problems today. Should we send you this when we finish? Actually, there is fill in the answer sheets in Google Docs, and you can just put your answers in there. It looks like this. Right, so in number 1, you can just type in, we did it together, what do we get for number 1? Is that like 13/25? So you can type in 13/25 for number 1. And you can edit it. And for number 30, we got, what, 80%? Type in 80% there. That way I can read what your answers are. When you take photos of things, it's tough to see sometimes. depending on how you're taking the photo. And then even taking the photo of things and like uploading it and stuff like that, that can get kind of hectic with all the different ways there are to take photos. Like you can do JPEGs. You could actually put your photo in a docs if you wanted to. You could, I mean, there's lots of different formats for photos on the computer. And if you're doing one that I can't support, or if I do one that you can't support, it's hard for me to view it. So just fill in the Google Docs sheet and I will get it right away. I can even look at the Google Docs. You don't even have to hit the turn in button. I can see what you're doing right in there. And that way you don't have to mess with finding out how to upload photos, things like that. I was trying to keep it simple for you. So with that, I plan on giving you the next 20 minutes of your math class to just be working on that. If you have questions, you can email me, unless you have one right now you'd like to go over. But it really shouldn't take you 20 minutes to do all that. Yeah, these aren't too difficult. You should be able to figure this out. Number 21 is easy if you pay attention to your factors. Number 22, just be careful because it wants you to choose not blue. Right, so if 23 out of 50 people chose blue, how many out of 50 choose not blue? Right, they are mutually exclusive in there. Yeah, Eli, eventually we're going to get to the other parts of the slideshow, but like I said at the beginning, all my notes for percents are in one slideshow, and I just kind of stop at different parts scaling it. So I gave you all the slideshow notes. You're more than welcome to look through it and see what you can figure out on your own. However, when it comes to what is it, percent change and markup and discount stuff, it gets a little reasoning-y. You're going to have to use some reasoning skills to get things. But yeah, there's like 22 slides on this. 15. Fifteen is 11 out of 25. You want that as a percent, Catherine, so you're just going to make it out of 100. How do you get from 25 to 100? Well, 25 to 100, you multiply this by 4, because remember there's 4 quarters in a dollar. Yep, so if you're multiplying that by 4, you're multiplying this by 4, and your answer is whatever 11 times 4 is, which is 44, so this equals 44%. Or, if you didn't notice the 25 thing, going into 100, you could do it as a proportion and get 25x equals divide that by 25, divide that by 25, so then x, and you're going to get x equals 44. So either way you want to do it, this way is probably easier for that one, but you can do it that way as well. Well, if you have no more further questions, I'm going to get off and let you guys work on that. If you do come up with a question, shoot me an email and try to get me things by, I guess, Wednesday this week. Try to get things in by the end of the week. I know everyone has kind of rough schedules. Some of you are fighting over computers, time with parents and your siblings. So get it done is the best I can say. For science, videos are available. I apologize, there's a lot. I think it came out to be like 11 videos or something like that. So videos are available. I am working on your assignment sheet for the next chapter. Just be patient with me. I got to find ideas that you guys can do easily at home. And yeah, so videos are unlocked. You're starting Earth and Space, which I don't remember what chapter it is. I want to say it's chapter 19. Science book here. Yeah, it's going to be on chapter 19 in the book. So you know right away you can do key terms, you can work on section assessments, you can take notes. Those are definitely going to be due. And again, I'm working on getting that assignment sheet out. I just got to tweak some of it before you see it. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm trying to get back as soon as possible. But with that, I'm going to end this, say goodbye, enjoy the rest of your day. You've had some pretty nice days, so make sure you're getting some exercise going outside, running around and not just cooped up in your house all day. Alright, I will talk with you guys later. Thanks, bye.